Okay guys, welcome to the second video in the series about NVIDIA vGPU. Together with me again, or still, is Jared Cowart of NVIDIA. And today we're going to talk a bit more about vGPU. And so like, I would say 6 or 7 years ago, vGPU was created by you guys.
That's right.
So what's the difference between vGPU and the use cases we've shown in the last video?
Yeah, so that's a great point. We mentioned before in the last video we had the pass-through option, that full access. That's ultimately what everybody wants. Right. They want that heavy, high-end graphic experience for every user.
But the downside was density, right?
It's density, absolutely. Yeah. That was the challenge. So what vGPU did differently was it enabled us to carve up the GPU and to present virtual GPUs or vGPUs to each individual VM. So here's kind of how it works. You know, we've got our hardware here. So let's pretend this is a server. Yeah. We'll be agnostic, whatever server it was. And within this server, we had our physical GPU.
Right.
So this would maybe in this case be a P40 nowadays. So this is a P40 GPU here. Within the hypervisor, we actually install, again, an NVIDIA driver, similar to the VSGA and some of those types of solutions. But this driver this time, so this is a NVIDIA driver. This driver this time actually gives us some functionality. So this is what's called the vGPU manager. So it is a driver, but it's more of a manager. And what it allows us to do effectively is to create profiles on top of this hypervisor that are different vGPUs. So if we were to have two P40s in here, maybe here I could create a 1Q profile.
So that's a Quadro profile with a 1 gig frame buffer?
Exactly. So a Quadro profile with a 1Q profile. So 1Q, and then I also could create over here maybe a little bit bigger one, and this might be a 12Q.
Oh, wow.
So give me the ability to have different size profiles for different size use cases.
Right.
So important to note here, maybe in some situations we might have a 12Q profile working off of one, but we also might have a 2B. So a 2B profile would be a different software mechanism, but this would be for more of our task type users. So these are just the physical. So this is kind of like this is one box now where we've got these profiles. Then we create our virtual machines. And the neat thing here is that this works with like instant clones and all of VMware's fantastic provisioning technology. As you're provisioning those desktops, you just select which profile you want. It goes and gets it and assigns it. And now that vGPU is assigned to this machine in that 2B or whatever it was, and now this on top of it here would have an NVIDIA driver that's right in that VM.
Right, so and that 2B profile that's attached to a virtual machine has full access to that portion of the frame buffer, the physical frame buffer, right?
Exactly. The neat part about this is it's really dividing up the frame buffer for each user, and it has full access to that hardware. So all the CUDA cores and all of the 5,000-ish CUDA cores that you now have access to, they get their time slice or their access in time as part of that. And then we have different schedulers and things. Probably get into an advanced video where we can go into the different scheduler types that we have depending upon the use case. If you're looking for max density or max performance, there's all different kinds of things that can be configured that now are beneficial of this NVIDIA vGPU manager that are in this. So a lot of cool capabilities here. So let's do this. Let's actually move from here, kind of designing what the hardware is, and let's talk about some use cases similar to what we had in the first drawing.
Right.
So in the first drawing, what we did is we had our designers, our high-end users, we had our power users, and then we kind of broke that into our pass-through, things of that nature. So if we look here, we kind of come back to this chart that we had here, kind of higher-end users, and we get into task users here. And then we get into our kind of knowledge, power user, kind of knowledge power, and then our kind of designers. So we've got our kind of main user types that we deal with here. Now, before we were dealing with completely different solutions, right? Soft API intercept and then pass through. Well, the beautiful thing with vGPU is now we have one platform for delivering. One of the challenges that we have with dealing with soft and all these different things is that it's different provisioning types.
Yeah.
So we all love managing profile or different golden images. But if you have this task user, that's a golden image. Then we have a passenger, that's a golden image. And then these are all different golden images types. The beautiful thing about vGPU is it's one common golden image type, and we just define what is the size of that graphics resource that we want.
So basically how you do it is like you create a software-defined platform to offer GPU profiles to a desktop or to an end user.
Exactly. So what we've done now is it's almost kind of one big bubble that goes across the top here. And now we break this down into a couple of things. So if you look at, from a hardware, how this works, is we kind of got this big bar that goes across the bottom here now.
Yeah.
And what this really is this is Tesla. So this is Tesla GPU. So this is our enterprise grade kind of data center GPU that goes in hundreds of different server platforms.
So this is the graphics architecture basically.
Correct. This is the physical card that could go in servers. Now this physical card could be everything from an M10 to an M60. And these are PCI format cards.
Yeah. Based on the Maxwell architecture.
Based on the Maxwell architecture. Then as we get into the Pascal architecture, we now have our P4, we now have our P40, and then we also have I'll put these over here, but we do have our P6 and an M6.
So these are for blade architecture, right?
So these are blade, right?
Yeah,
so we have options for blade, which is great. PCI here, and then we also now have V100.
Based on the latest architecture.
Based on the latest architecture. So all of these are our Tesla platform. The cool thing is customers don't really have to even worry about it because now if it's a Tesla card, it works with Grid.
Right.
So, and a lot of the Teslas also work with machine learning and AI and these different things, but if it's Tesla, it works with Grid.
Right.
So no decisions here. So this is kind of the first layer, and you're going to use one of these cards across here or whatever you're using. Then above this Tesla layer now we're dealing, which kind of goes to this way, we're now dealing with our VPC. So we have a virtual PC license, and within the virtual PC license, you can kind of choose. Do you want to use a 1B or a 2B? So these are two different size profiles, and what we have found that 1 gig of frame buffer or 2 gig of frame buffer works perfect for these user types.
Right. So that's enough for like a 4K display. Or
absolutely. With a 2B profile, we can actually do
HD.
Yeah, we can do 4K. We can do four HD monitors now, or 2 4K monitors with a 2B. So a lot of different functionality here.
Up
we can
to
do
like 60 frames a second, YouTube videos, stuff like that.
Linux desktops, all that can come out of here. So if a customer needs compute applications, or if they need our Quadro driver experience, right?
Because of stuff like CUDA. You want to benefit from CUDA.
Well, or
OpenGL.
CUDA, OpenGL. OpenGL works over here as well, but it might be SolidWorks, CATIA.
Right, okay.
The way that I always like to talk to partners or customers is tell me what you're using now. And so a lot of the times the customer will say, well, I'm running a P5000 for my designers, and they are running this Quadro card. And that's great because now it tells me I need to probably move over into the Quadro virtual data center workstation.
Right, so that's more for use cases that cannot work without a GPU at all.
Correct, absolutely have to. These virtual PCs really, nowadays we're finding, are going into like almost every type of desktop deployment just to give that guaranteed experience. So great use cases here. So if we were to write some use cases in here for virtual PC, one of the biggest ones we're finding is Windows 10.
Right, yeah.
So Windows 10 is definitely getting a lot more graphical.
Yeah.
Other things here is video. If they're watching lots of video, YouTube or even HR training videos are becoming more and more graphical. Those types of use cases. If we get into things like Photoshop, we noticed that a lot more users are using, just Photoshop type applications. This is a great use case for things like that. And even we get into a lot of our Adobe suite that maybe is PDF viewers, things of this. Even seen some healthcare type applications that are beneficial over here into the virtual PC.
And your Office applications, of course.
Office applications. Office by default is actually GPU accelerated.
Yeah.
And so that's a great one.
So is Windows 10. Windows 10 is actually expecting a GPU.
Absolutely. So this is a great use case for kind of all these users.
Right.
Now we move over to the right here and we get into the other solution. Now these virtual PCs can run across all these hardware solutions. Ignore that they're kind of over here to the right. Just pretend this layer is all the GPUs. But as we get over here, now we get into the Quadro virtual data center workstation license and this QDWS license that we would have here. This guy is equivalent to pass-through, but scalability.
Right.
Right. So, and in this solution, I'm not going to write them all out, but we have our Q, everything from a Q1 to a Q32. So with
wow. So it's 32 gigs of frame buffer.
Correct. So we can go anywhere from a 1 gig frame buffer all the way up to 32 gig frame buffer with our latest. So with 6.1, we announced a V100 32 gig card. Now, if you do a Q32 gig, you're getting 1-to-1.
Yeah, obviously.
But you do get cool functionality now with that 1-to-1, like suspend and resume.
Yeah.
Things that you can now do that we weren't able to do with pass-through. So I'm not going to write them all out, but basically almost every iteration between 1 through 32, we can now divide that card up and support that many users. So with, and if we have a 32 gig card with Q1s, we could do 32 users on that one card.
On a single card.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of density. High density.
Absolutely. Tons of density now, and it gives us that pass-through type experience, but with the with the full GPU density and those types of things.
So both the virtual PC as well as the Quadro equivalent are available on all Tesla cards, right?
Yeah, that's the cool part. So there's a couple of caveats with that are important when you're dealing with design work. And that is like an M10 here. So this is made up of 4 GPUs.
Yeah.
So that means I can run 4 different profile types.
Right.
The M10 is made up of 2. And this is 1, this is 1, this is 1, this is 1, 1. So if we're looking for max density, max selection, we need to be in kind of this realm. Or we need to have multiple of these cards that would give us the ability to run multiple profiles on a host.
Right.
So if we're looking for, run, 1 cube, 1 this, 1 that, then we need to have more than 1 card there to do that type of functionality. So let's talk the use cases for this Quadro VDWS. One of the big ones is compute.
Right.
So if you're doing compute type applications, and these are typically CUDA, so any application that has CUDA acceleration, and a lot of the SolidWorks and CATIAs and these that have CUDA acceleration to do rendering enhancements and things of that nature, this is a use case for that.
Yeah.
The easiest, best question I like to ask customers or partners around, do you need VDWS or the Quadro VDWS is Quadro. Are you currently running Quadro in your use case?
Yeah. In your current physical machine.
In your current physical machine, do you have a Quadro card? If you do, and your application expects a Quadro card, and Quadro has a lot of work that's done with it, right? We work with the ISVs on certifying the applications and making sure that there's accelerations and optimizations around this card. We have a whole entire team that works with, and hundreds of ISV relationship managers that work with these teams to make sure that that's optimized and provides a guaranteed level of experience. So Quadro is a great way to assume that you need that type of solution there. So the other way that we get into this is we can just go all the way down the list. This is where we get into SolidWorks and CATIA.
I found out that there's a complete list of all applications that benefit from Quadro on the website of NVIDIA.
There is. So if you actually go to NVIDIA.com and go to the Quadro webpage, you can see all the applications that are certified and what applications those are.
Right.
A lot of great stuff there, but there's great resources that are out at NVIDIA.com.
I'll publish the URL here. So if you use this URL beneath here, you could find all the applications that are supported by Quadro.
So there's lots of stuff we can go into in regards to kind of dialing out, the overall solution, but hopefully this helps people understand. We've got all of our GPUs now that are across the bottom. We've got our 2 different software solutions. There is worth mentioning another option, just really quick. If we are dealing with RDSH or some of like Horizon app type deployment, we do have, and it's included in these. So if you actually have VPC, you actually get something called vApp.
Right.
And if you have VDWS here, you get vApp. And vApp gives us the ability now to present a GPU to an application server that now could publish those applications back into these desktops,
Right.
or just for delivery of an application. So vApp is another option that's included, or could also be purchased separately, but very similar profiles and things, but we're kind of talking about the VDI right now,
Yeah.
so we'll focus there, but it's important to note.
Cool. Okay, awesome. Jared, thanks so much. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next video.
Thanks.